Let me start out the video by saying that I didn't really think I'd come back to DBD for a while. A little fact about me, I don't usually stick to just one game. I play a game for a while, I get hooked on it, and then I move on when it gets stale. The only two games I've ever been almost fully hooked on were TF2 and Dead by Daylight. I think Dead by Daylight was the second most consistent game I ever played besides TF2 because TF2 was my life for a while. But DBD, I reached like 80 consecutive days played, and for a while I thought that Dead by Daylight might be my new number one game that I always play. But eventually it got stale, it stopped being that fun, and I was annoyed at the game for several reasons. But the biggest reason for me leaving was that every killer in DBD that I found fun were always bad. For example, my two favorite killers in the game that I like to switch between are Pig and Legion. Both those killers are not very good at all, and it gets annoying when the characters you find fun to play aren't good enough to compete with high skill players. Like, sure, I can have fun playing that killer, but winning is also fun, and losing enough times becomes frustrating. For the longest time since 2022, when I first played Legion, I wanted to main them. I really like running around stabbing people with awesome chase music in my ears, but I always found myself getting steamrolled by good players or 4 stacks, whatever it was. There are exceptions, of course, but regardless, it got annoying playing a bad character. But all that changes today. I mean, 2 days ago because I missed the announcement, but still. Today is the day that Legion finally got buffed. Now, there are two parts to this Legion change. I know I said Legion got buffed, but at the same time, got indirectly nerfed a bit, but I'll get into that in a second. One part of this, I'm going to go over changes to Deep Wound, the other part being his actual kit buff. So a little while ago, behavior changed Deep Wound, and it was really lackluster. They hyped it up to be some huge change, but all we got was a bar and some visual changes. Either behavior saw people get annoyed that it was just a visual change, or that gameplay changes were something that they were going to do eventually. Either way, they did change its stats. All they did was make it 2 seconds faster to mend either alone or with someone else. So this isn't really a Legion buff, it's an indirect nerf, but I thought it was still necessary to mention because Deep Wound is a big part of Legion's kit. But don't worry, because the changes to Deep Wound don't affect Legion as much because of the new buffs they got. Now let's get into the meat, the juicy, tender display of this update, the actual buffs to Legion. Here's all the changes on screen. Take a nice gander at them, because man, seeing buffs to Legion brings a tear to my eye. I'll go over them in little sections to not overload you with the details. Firstly, changes to fatigue. This is the downtime when your power ends. A big problem with Legion is that canceling your power in chase really lets the survivor get away. Considering Wesker is similar when you have a fatigue-ish effect when you cancel your power, but Wesker's is just better, or Pig crouching up and down. These are downtimes when canceling a power, but they are way less punishing than Legion's, so Behavior decided to change fatigue by decreasing the time you're fatigued for. Also, you now move faster when you're fatigued. This is going to be really good when you need to cancel your power during or to start a chase because now survivors won't get as much distance. So already a very good change. Next, we have a change that makes Frenzy last longer. This is huge, similar to Mischief List. It's a small effect, it makes a huge difference. The extra second won't be as good as Mischief List, but obviously a very welcome addition. Up next is a buff to Frenzy's cooldown, which is now 15 seconds instead of 20. This is just Scratch Ruler, but base kit, which I'm all for. Scratch Ruler wasn't a very popular or very good add-on just because there were better ones available, and you don't really need the extra 5 seconds. However, making it base kit is a fine change. I don't think it's going to be game breaking, but again, definitely a nice change. Now probably my favorite change, increased movement speed bonus. When hitting survivors in Frenzy, going fast is one of the big reasons Legion's so fun, and making Legion faster just makes them more fun to play. The number increase isn't that big, so this change isn't massive or anything, but again, not a bad change either. Now lastly, this one's pretty vague, but they're adjusting several of Legion's add-ons. Obviously none of these have been revealed yet, so all I can do is speculate, which I will. First up, I think that Mischief List is going to be nerfed to an extra second instead of 2. They did the same thing with Ghostface and his camera add-on, so I'm assuming they're just take half of Mischief List, made a base kit, and then nerf the actual add-on to be 1 second now. Would that be a good change? I don't know actually. Mischiefless is a pretty crucial add-on to use, so making half of it base kit will allow you to use more add-ons and not feel like you're completely missing out. Another add-on I think is getting changed is Scratch Roller because it's made completely base kit now. I don't know if they're going to keep the same effect but just nerf the time or completely change it to a new effect. If they keep Scratch Roller the same though, I'd be all for it because you get a super fast cooldown which wouldn't be that useful, but funny. Realistically, they're changing it to something else, and I'd like to see some sort of vault add-on. Whether it's vault speed, temporary speed boost, or anything like that. Just give Legion some kind of add-on that buffs vaulting stuff. Mural Sketch also might get nerfed slightly because Legion's getting more base kit speed bonuses, so I could see this getting nerfed slightly, and I could also see it staying the same. Preferably, I hope they keep this add-on the same, but if they nerf it, oh well. Next is Joey's Mixtape. I think this add-on just needs a complete rework. Hemorrhage is a bad effect for Legion's power because they can't even see the extra blood that it produces, so either they change Legion to see blood pools in Frenzy, or they completely change it. Again, my idea is some kind of vault add-on. I think Frank's Mixtape should also get a buff. It's only really good in the gen kicking build, but even then it's at best. So buff its stats or make it base kit, and again, rework it to something else. And I think you know what that change would be. Finally, I'm wondering if they'll rework one of the pre-existing add-ons and change it back to Cold Dirt. This is an old Legion add-on that would decrease the fatigue of Frenzy. I could see this maybe coming back if they rework another purple add-on, or reworking a pre-existing add-on to have the same or similar effect. Maybe not because they're already changing the fatigue duration, but who knows, maybe it'll come back. Anyways, that's it for the Legion changes. I'm super excited to get back into DBD fully when these changes become live. I'll also be playing with these changes on the PTB, so stick around for that video sometime next week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.